Hello horror fans and welcome to another episode of Silver Screams. Tonight we are talking about Scream Queens Season 1, Episode 4, The Pumpkin Patch.
Ooh. I tromped through the pumpkin patch.
I peeked behind the Cyclops' eye.
But he wasn't there.
So, all in all, initial impression of this episode is that I'm thoroughly impressed.
Oh, yeah.
There were so many different horror homages between Silence of the Lambs and The Shining and even Exorcist 3. Like, there are some really, really great, wonderful moments in this episode that remind me of why I love horror.
Which one was Exorcist 3?
What
was the reference?
The reference of the guy walking in the maze and then the Red Devil being right after him.
Oh,
yeah, with the Clippers. That was a reference to Exorcist 3.
I honestly feel like we had a little bit of Saw going on as well. Just because of the torture room with the implements hanging and all that fun stuff. Like Saw 3-ish. Not original flavor.
I would think it's more because Jigsaw was very big on his mouse traps. I would think it's more Hostel because Hostel actually was the film that coined the term torture porn, and that was because of a review.
Thanks, Hostel.
Thank you, Eli Roth, you monster.
Oh, Hostel was Eli Roth? Oh, that explains everything.
Doesn't that explain much?
It does.
Thank you for your contribution to cinema and to the world of horror. You monster. Anyway, okay. That's a conversation for another day. But
I don't want to have that conversation.
No. I'm doing a show about horror movies, and I don't want to have that conversation. But let's go ahead and talk about this episode because, the big aspect of this episode is trying to find Zayday while also simultaneously trying to play this political game with in between the different Chanels in an attempt to either rig or win the election. It was really difficult to tell which side Hester was on, which I suppose is the point.
I think she's on her own side.
She is.
And very much playing both sides against the middle. No. Now that Chanel #1 kind of introduced her to that and gave her that power, she is definitely doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And at the end of the day, she's going to do either what sounds fun for her or what will benefit her in the long run.
She's either going to come out on top or she's going to die horrifically in the 11th hour.
Yep. Get her comeuppance, I suppose. So either that or it could be like Reservoir Dogs and she'll just walk on out of here. Who knows? But I really
Honestly, I figure surviving this counts as coming out on top.
Yeah, no, making it through to the end. And I gotta say, I'm really starting to Grace because she's the only one that makes any sense around this insane asylum.
Yes.
And even though I have a hard time remembering everybody's names, she is definitely a constant in terms of she's our person we can go to make some sense out of this insane situation when she's surrounded by nut jobs all around
Kind of including her dad. I mean, her dad does have some stable aspects, but he also is teaching her class and showing kids some pretty gritty horror movies.
There's a killer on the loose. What's wrong with you, guy?
So show some tact. No, honey, no.
But anyway, and so when she finds out that her fellow Chanels basically are going to leave Zayday to her own devices, to her own fate, she decides that...
At Hester's suggestion.
At Hester's suggestion and at Chanel #3's command, because she was temporarily in charge, Grace decides to go first to her dad and then to Munch, which her dad obviously is having a romantic engagement with a 90s girl.
They're at second base and going fast.
Yeah, no. Especially with Black Velvet playing. The most sensual song ever written.
Was it Black Velvet?
Yeah.
No.
I know. That's not what that song is about.
Like the Alana Miles song Black Velvet or a different Black Velvet?
Black Velvet.
Yeah, that's Alana Miles.
Anyway. Again, she's off her rocker, and we know that she's up to no good now.
You think she'd be making out to, I don't know, My Heart Will Go On or something by the Backstreet Boys or something. She's stuck in the 90s.
80s songs were still big in the 90s. In the same way that early 2000s songs still strike a chord with people our age.
And the Backstreet Boys are still on tour. So.
Exactly. Backstreet's back, all right. But so when going to her dad, when they both agree to help, after possibly traumatizing Grace, they go to Munch, who's in the middle of this really interesting discussion with Denise, who they've both slept with Chad. That's disgusting. And they're high-fiving about it.
And then there's that, how did Chad get into this school? Because is it at the very beginning?
It's at the very beginning when he's giving this big old speech about how Halloween needs to be celebrated.
Well, we have a scene with Dean Munch shutting down the campus because it's too dangerous, and because it's definitely too dangerous on Halloween.
And because, obviously, Chanel has an event that's coming up, which be great to undermine Chanel in any way, shape, or form. Munch will take advantage of that opportunity. And because there was a haunted house with literal dead bodies all over the place.
I have to wonder if the police ever recovered those. I'm wondering if the police ever even went to that haunted house.
I would imagine so, because at this point, Zayday has been confirmed missing, even though they can't open an official missing persons case.
For like, what they say, 48, 72 hours?
I think the answer is 48, but I might be mistaken on that. It might be 72. Anyway, so yeah, he gave this really great, stupid speech about how Halloween needs to be celebrated because it's the one day.
The sluttiest night of the year.
Exactly. And just the look she gave him was, how did you get into this school?
Athletic scholarship, and rich as hell.
Rich. Definitely rich. And he may very well have slept with someone to get in.
Well, but you can get athletic scholarships for golf.
Can you?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. They have collegiate golf leagues, and it is a professional sport. You can get an athletic scholarship for just about anything you can play, provided that you're going to a school that
actually has a team.
Program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually has a team and invests money in said team.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think University of Arizona, University of one of the other, the Sun Devils. Pretty sure they've got a pretty solid golf team.
Point being, there are a number of ways he got into the school,
yes.
but I'm assuming
yes.
it's because he's rich, and if need be, he would have slept with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, and I don't think he needs a scholarship to get in.
True, but that's a really good excuse for someone who could in no way pass academically.
That's true. But the point being, Chad's an idiot. And as fun as he is to watch, and I do like how they pointed out how guy with no arms is still ready for a rager.
He should be in the hospital.
Yeah, he recovered really quickly.
Killed him. He's not the friggin' Black Knight. That should have killed him.
I'll bite your ankles.
You're a loony.
But, so I do want to get back to this search because, again, Munch doesn't seem very concerned. She's like, I've already done everything I can. I don't care. And Denise is still under the impression that Zayday is the one perpetrating these crimes, these murders. And so what they end up doing is they eventually find the underground bunker where Zayday was being held captive because of an app called, what is it, Find My Phone or something like that?
Yeah, Find My Phone is actually a thing that exists, and I don't know if there is a Droid version. If there is, I don't have any experience with it, but it's definitely something that it's Find My Device. It's in iPhones and iPads, and all you have to do is enable it and connect it to your Apple account. And that's probably why they couldn't drop any names, because it is definitely more of an Apple thing.
Yeah.
But it can ping your device and give you the location. So it's really good for, I left my phone in the cab, or, oh shoot, is it in my car, or is it at work, or where did it go?
Yeah, if I had this, I wouldn't have lost my personal phone a couple of weeks ago.
Your personal phone would not have been equipped with this.
It's gone. It's dead. It's long gone. Anyway, on the one hand, I think that the fact that this is a real thing is really cool. Yeah. On the other hand, kind of creepy. Right?
Well, you have to be logged into your account. I mean, not even the Apple technicians can ping it. You have to do it.
Yeah, no.
So, unless your password is Oakland Nachos, you're pretty well secure.
Which, I love them so much, I made
Oakland Nachos?
Password for everything. I Googled it, and the first thing that came up was a Scream Queens recap, so I chose not to look at it. But I did see a couple pictures. They looked really good. And there was one thing that was a list of, like, top 15 places in Oakland to get nachos.
Is it just like corn chips and chocolate sauce? Because that's what it looked like.
I have no idea. Maybe it was red sauce, like mole sauce, which is really good on like your enchiladas and stuff. That's what I assume. I don't know, but it looked delicious, and I really, really want nachos now.
And TV food is made of God knows what, so it could have been anything.
Yeah, TV food is made of not food.
TV food's not edible.
No, it's made of not food, which is why it looked the same when they found it as opposed to when it was actually served to Zayday.
But then again, you'd think that, given that it didn't take her long to get back to the sorority house, when it was served to her and when they found it, the cat's rubbing against the tripod, so if you start getting a really weird angle, that's why.
One of these days you're going to see me dive for the tripod.
It's just going to, found footage review.
It'll turn into paranormal activity for a minute. Anyway.
Yeah, wow, bleh. The time between when she was served those nachos and when she showed up at the room was probably not super long, probably less than a couple hours.
Because the Red Devil was still there.
I'm not surprised that it stood up. Well, one of them was.
Yes. And this is the whole thing, is that from the very beginning of this episode, my question was, why kidnap her? Because at the end of the last episode, if they were planning on killing her, they would have killed her then and there. So I kind of knew that she was kidnapped, and then with the promo, we got that confirmed. But the question I was still wondering was why?
It's also fairly well confirmed that she's not a devil.
Yeah, they've made it very clear at this point that she has nothing to do with what's going on. Probably still has lots of secrets, but doesn't have anything to do with what's going on.
I feel like she's actually an innocent. Like, the chainsaw under her bed, her granny really did send her that, and just stuff like that. It's just all coincidence, and she wound up in the wrong place at the wrong time, because she wasn't gonna rush until Grace said, hey, come with me, let's do the thing.
With a security guard that has a chip on her shoulder about the life she could have had.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I think her involvement is entirely incidental and unfortunate.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about this because we get a reveal. Again, this is Zayday's side of the story, which I tend to believe. You know, anyone could be lying in this show.
But the set dressing corroborates it.
Yeah. So what we have here, and again, I was wondering why kidnap her? Why keep her there? Why in what is essentially a torture chamber? And
probably, what, 20, 30 feet down?
Yeah, definitely deep down into the earth, to the point where no one would be able to hear her scream. But when she's taken out, there is this very romantic setting with wine and her favorite food. And we know that the Red Devil is multiple people at this point, possibly even more than we imagined. Like I said, my theory is that it's a ton of people. But
the entire school board.
At the very least, at this point, we know now 3. At the very least.
Have we ever seen 3 at the same time?
No, but given the end of this episode, one person was taking orders from another, talking about a third party. So,
honestly, I feel like she never put on the mask.
Doesn't matter. She's orchestrating this whole thing. In the same way that Scream 3, that guy is and always has been Ghostface, manipulating everything. I know it's dumb and stupid. I agree.
This is why we disown Scream 3.
I agree, but
it goes 1, 2, 4.
Point being is, being a manipulator makes you just as much a Red Devil as anybody putting on the mask.
True.
Anyway, so this guy, whoever this guy is clearly infatuated with her.
And the best way to get a woman's affections is to kidnap her. Don't ever do it.
I'm very proud of her for stabbing him in the hand and making
playing him.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting close enough to be like, oh yeah, what did she call it?
I've always had a thing for bad boys.
And something about you like the chocolate swirl, but I don't like little bitches who kill my friends. And she stabs him through the hand with a fork, basically stakes him to the table and runs for it. I'm like, bless you, my child.
And
you are my new favorite person in this
so much respect for her for doing that.
Oh my God, tell me about it.
But again, it's interesting. It's like, okay, well, who was this Red Devil? Because we have had one person from Chad's sorority, fraternity, from Chad's fraternity show interest in her. So I'm wondering if it's just that guy, since he's the only guy we've seen with a confirmed kind of thing for her, or if it's somebody who we wouldn't suspect having a thing for her.
It doesn't make any sense for it to be the gay guy.
Oh, no, of course not. Unless he's bi, or unless, like, the whole gay thing was an act.
I don't know. The way it was presented didn't really seem like an act, what with the unfortunate boner.
I mean, this is the same guy who
laid
down in a morgue for God knows how many hours until his partner in crime came to get him.
True. So, who knows? It could be anything, but we know it's a he because it was that got out of hand. He needs to go. He needs to go. That's right. So we do know that that particular one, at least, was a he.
Yeah, so after Zayday escapes, the rest of the group who have come to her rescue are left to deal with the Red Devil that's still lurking in the shadows. And so what we have here, again, great Silence of the Lamb homage, and actually a really decent misdirect because in a way that MTV's Scream also did very similar. We have one character who gets knocked out, incapacitates the person in the mask, they allegedly hurt them and then get away, and then it turns out this person was involved the whole time. So all this time, we knew 90s Girl was crazy at the end of the last episode. I never knew she was this involved. But I feel like I was right to assume somebody who's stupid like a fox is actually probably way more dangerous. All this time I was looking at Earmuffs Girls when I should have been looking at 90s Girl.
I'm honestly thinking that none of the Chanels are devils.
That's entirely possible.
At this point, there has been too much victimization of the entire sorority, and just the fact that we see them together so often when these things happen. I don't know. I would be, at this point, surprised if any of the Chanels were devils. But if there was one, honestly, Chanel Prime.
Well, and I remember what you were saying when we had this initial reveal, because we have this moment where 90s Girl is walking alone at night and the Red Devil mysteriously appears behind her. And what you said before the Red Devil appeared was, she's got red shoes, I wonder if she's a Red Devil.
Well, when she and the security guard were walking together, it focused on their shoes first, and that just like, hang on.
Bright red shoes?
Something about that. It was just like, well, that,
And I loved the reveal, too. First of the Red Devil, and then of her, like, leaning against a pillar going, you're late.
You're late.
This was a very well shot scene, and again, with very little dialogue, so much information was conveyed. We know that this Red Devil was not the same Red Devil that was in the pit with everybody, the one who captured Zayday. This one was probably the one wandering through the maze at the same time.
Honestly, I feel like the one... Because I don't think the pit and the maze...
Like I said,
I'm wondering when the pit and the maze happened. I feel like the maze was before the pit.
I feel like it was simultaneous because it's after the maze that we have the election, and then
she
after
said
the pit...
a few hours ago. Whereas Grace running in from the pit would have been right then. So probably less than an hour. It's entirely
possible that it could have been the same Red Devil. I tend to think it's two different Red Devils. That this was the one at the maze, and that the other one was the one in the pit.
I'm not thinking that it's the same Red Devil. I'm thinking that the one who got stabbed might have... No, it makes more sense for him to be the one. But then she doesn't trust him anymore. I don't know which one's which. But you'd think they would have noticed a bleeding hand. For whatever one was there. Like, if they were up close enough and personal to see him like that, then again, the security guard doesn't notice Jack, so...
And I don't recall, was he wearing gloves?
They all do.
Yeah, so he wasn't wearing gloves when... Well, no,
he was.
Was he wearing a different
gloves?
Yeah, but if he could easily put on a different pair of gloves after patching up his hand.
That's true.
So that inadmissible evidence.
Yeah.
So anyway, point being is that this conversation is what's happening now, and 90s Girl seems to be the one pulling the strings, which, how awesome. Again, a great, awesome reveal, because you're not sure
really
if she's in on it or if she's going to be a victim, and then we get our confirmation.
I can't say I'm surprised. Kappa ruined her life.
Yeah,
and she, if I remember correctly, she's the one that, wanted to take care of the girl who'd had the baby, and wanted things to go well, and then it seems like she got stuck with the baby. And so it ruined her life completely.
We never got confirmation which girl in the flashback that she was, but we can assume, based on the evidence presented to us, that she was the one that held the baby when everybody else went to go dispose of the body.
Well, and we can probably even go look at the flashbacks and see, like, similar hair colors. Yeah,
how many of them were brunettes? Exactly.
Yeah.
So she probably sees this whole incident as a huge injustice and has waited this long for some reason to get back at Kappa. I don't know why. Why wait for so many years?
Well, there was also a Red Devil that wiped out the previous Kappa president. Not killed, but horribly disfigured.
That's still waiting 19 years assuming that she was involved with that first Red Devil incident. That's still waiting 19 years to get your revenge on a generation that had nothing to do with what happened.
That's true, but we know she's not stable, and it's possible that she only just got promoted to her position. Because she is, I can't remember her exact
She is a national head of the Kappa. She's the national chapter representative.
There we go, yeah.
So, again,
she's in a position of power and knowledge.
But why wait for so long? It seems...
To be in a position of power and knowledge.
But it seems like just impotent rage to lash out at a generation that had nothing to do with what happened.
It might have taken that long to build. Because, she's obviously not okay, and then she had to raise the child and do whatnot. You know what? I wonder if one of her kids is one of the Red Devils.
Maybe. It also could... It's also possible that this has less to do with destroying the sorority and more to do with destroying Munch, who allowed this to happen, who covered it up, who forced the girls who took part in this to leave the school. That probably included her as well.
Yeah.
So...
Couldn't have any witnesses, even one who was trying to help.
So it's entirely possible that this has less to do with the sorority and more to do with Munch. That's a thought, and that she's just playing dumb and traumatized as a way of, again, diverting suspicion from herself, and again doing all these different killings as a way of spreading confusion.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know, but I like the idea of moving forward. Now my eyes are going to be on her, and I'm going to be scrutinizing everything she does. It's going to be great.
Which is sad, because I was kind of shipping her with Dad.
Yeah,
it's not going to go well. I wonder if she's trying to get to Grace for any given reason. And I wonder if Grace's mom wasn't one of the three involved.
Well,
do we know anything about what happened to the other two?
Just that one, I think, committed suicide. And basically, all of their lives were ruined. And that, again, they could only get in touch with one person. It's entirely possible still, it hasn't been denied yet, that Grace is, in fact, said child. And
Dad denied it. And Dad's not super all there, but Dad also... Either he wouldn't lie about a thing like that, or he's 6 layers deeper than any of us ever know.
Possibly. And again, if he was the one that raised the child that she was taking care of for a while, then maybe her wanting to get with Grace's dad is kind of her way of making amends, or like saying we can be a family now, that sort of thing.
Or maybe she just likes him.
Maybe she just likes him. I don't know.
And thinks that she can keep her little murder fest away from... Because has Grace actually been targeted by any of the devils yet? Or does she just know about it? Has she just witnessed it? I don't remember.
The only time she has been directly affected by a red devil was when it was somebody else running directly at her. Every other time, I think it's been very peripheral, or he's been after someone else.
Was she there during the hazing where they were all buried in the lawn?
No, she wasn't.
That's right.
Yeah, she was somewhere else. And so again, who knows who this could be? My eyes are now shifting back towards journalism guy, in terms of being the red devil who she told, hey, he needs to go. This is getting out of hand.
Could be.
So could be. I don't know. But anyway, we have another aspect of the story to talk about. As interesting as that is, and as much as I want to dig more into it and theorize, we have this whole thing with Chanel, because
Trouble in Paradise.
Yeah, Chanel number 5 and Chanel number 3 ratted her out to the police. A few of them then posted bail and let her out for a great Orange is the New Black reference.
Yeah.
and then immediately let her out, but for her... And then she lashes out at Chanel No. 5 again, because Chanel No. 5 has been, I guess, undermining her in a lot of different ways, like not wanting to be Mary Todd Lincoln for understandable reasons.
Kind of tired of all of this.
Yeah. Although I did like what Chanel number 1 said about, you know, she's like, you constantly say that, and yet you're still here. You know, so Chanel No. 5 is just as bad as the rest of them.
But she's basically hanging on Chanel No. 1's coattails and, you know, basking in the popularity while complaining behind her back.
Exactly, which is a very catty thing to do, things that catty people do.
They both seem to think that they do all the work in this relationship.
Exactly. This was my idea, this was my idea, this was my idea, you know, that sort of thing. And again, Hester, I have to hand it to her, being able to go, why are you lashing out at children when you should be lashing out at Chanel? She makes a very good point. I'm surprised the Chanels haven't made a power play against her a long time ago. I guess they were just content with complaining behind her back.
Well, it's an honor to be a Chanel.
Yeah, that's true. And it seems
like
the sorority has been this way from the very beginning.
Yeah, it seems like this very odd sort of indentured servitude has been, you take my name, but with a number, and you do everything I tell you to do, and you love it, because life is wonderful.
Yeah, and again, even if you're beneath someone, you are head and shoulders above everybody else at the school.
And even in the sorority.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone wants to be a Chanel or a whoever the president is.
Because you're that closer to the head of the sorority, who is in the ultimate position of power, presumably in the entire school.
Bingo.
So, yeah, it's a bunch of, like, hangers-on to a really terrible person for really terrible reasons. Everybody wanting to backstab each other to get said position of power.
And then you have to be a terrible person to become a hanger-on, and then you have to be a hanger-on to become the president. And so it's just...
It's a vicious, you know, not great cycle. But, because we saw what Chanel was prior to becoming the head of the sorority, and she seemed just as desperate to please as Hester did when she was introduced. But at the same time, probably was sitting there very calculating and very cold about her rise to power. We don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, but Chanel got a very lucky break, and Hester is sitting here going,
yes. So Chanel No. 5 gets ripped apart when Chanel comes back from prison and is essentially charged with taking care of the pumpkin patch, which will go at 12:01 on November 1st to avoid the curfew. You know, say, stick it to the man.
Chanel is above the law.
Chanel Oberlin is above the law. And I gotta say, the set for the hedge maze and the color composition for this great shining homage was amazing.
The one thing that got me, and this is a practical and having done a lot of Halloween decoration standpoint, is that you do not put a real candle inside of a fake pumpkin, because it's the moisture in the real pumpkin that keeps it from catching on fire, which is why you carve a fresh gourd and then put the candle in. You don't do a paper mache, whatever, and then... So to have plastic pumpkins and then put real flames in them, that's a huge fire hazard.
But they looked so good.
But you can do... They have bulbs
I
that
agree
look
with you.
like...
I agree with you. But because let's face it, movie magic, these weren't real pumpkins, and they probably didn't have real flames in them. Movie magic. But they looked so good, especially the
White
silver
pumpkins of that size are hard to find.
Yeah, no, it's so pretty. And this whole hedge maze scene is both hysterical and genuinely creepy. In the same way that the Silence of the Lamb homage was both hilarious and genuinely creepy. And this is what I'm saying in terms of it's stuff like this that remind me of why I love horror. Because the cinematography and color compositions in these shots of the Red Devil just strolling through the maze were so good and so vibrant that, like, I was like, I just want to rewind and rewatch it, like, over and over again.
I feel like they had 3 maze corridors built on a soundstage, and they just shot in all of them and reset the snow between takes. Because you'd never know.
And again,
you would never know.
It was a great nod to The Shining in terms of having them retrace their footsteps and then just having the other guy just start walking backwards. He's like, oh yeah, I got this.
Walk backwards.
Right into the Red Devil's path.
Which was beautiful. And were they Roger and Dodger? Was that what that was?
I think so. And they were the twins that she had a 3-way with. And they, for some reason, felt the need to make her choose while being chased by a killer. What is wrong with you, idiots? What is wrong with you?
Split up and survive? I don't know.
But
because that seemed to be the strategy, is that the one she didn't choose went off on his own, and the one she did choose stayed with her, presumably to protect her.
I think they just wanted to go. Again, these are very stupid, self-absorbed people, and they both had a thing for her, and they wanted her to choose right then and there, which is stupid. Terrible. But again, from their dumb, warped perspective, I can see why that would become a problem. But especially in a life and death situation, if you are in love with somebody, you want to know if they love you back. But again, this was not the time or place, as we see by the guy who gets eviscerated. You idiot. But ultimately what this culminates to is the election scene where Chanel has everybody who's there gathered, minus Zayday and Grace, and is ready to rig the election. And
can we talk about Candle Girl?
Yes.
Just because she has an ant farm and a commentary on her ant family, and it's this huge sprawling thing with plastic places and tubes and just... It's a production. It's a whole production, and I can't imagine moving it.
And the perfect family to her is a mom who does nothing, gets laid a bunch, and has 1 million daughters who are her slaves.
Yep. She's like, it's a perfect family. And, the Chanels and the viewers are both kind of, and they keep trying to convince her to do this double cross for Chanel with them. Like, well, how do you know this and how do you know that? And they finally go... She has these extremely expensive candles that she lights once and then throws away because they're used. So she has a fit, and it's amazing.
So if I'm to look at Hester's power play correctly, it was getting Chanel number 5 on her side to get dirt on Chanel number 1 to ultimately get Candle Girl on her side, not the side of Chanel number 5.
Correct.
And then immediately ratted out Chanel number 5 and now has an alliance with Candle Girl, who is following her and not Chanel number 5.
Correct.
So again, very interesting power play, especially if she is trying to get Zayday elected to be her vice president.
Hester is very much out for herself.
She was the one that talked about Zayday getting elected and then having an accident, leaving her to rule the Chanels with an iron fist, presumably. So again, I worry about Zayday becoming the president, because then I worry about Hester trying to push her down a flight of stairs in a murder completely unrelated to the devil stuff that's going on. And sure enough, Zayday does come in just at the last minute. And I loved, it was just a very small moment, but Chanel number 3 hands money to her alibi friend. Alibuddy.
Yes, she's alive.
And I love how her alibuddy
Did she pull it out from her earmuffs?
I don't recall.
I feel like she pulled it out from her earmuffs.
I just remember her handing her the money.
I think she pulled it because it wasn't from bra or anything. I think it was from her earmuffs, and then just handed it over.
And then sure enough, she comes in with this story of how she escaped and how the Red Devil was in love with her, which was weird. And then sure enough, Grace comes in to corroborate her story, which is very interesting because Hester said, after Chanel was in jail, that if Zayday was able to get out of this situation herself, that would be a great campaign platform. And sure enough, she was able to save herself. So, and the episode ends before we get the election. So it looks like the next episode is going to very much focus on the election and the power play between the two of them, and each of them trying to convince the other ones to vote for them.
Honestly, I feel like Zayday wins it.
I would hope so.
Just because from some of the lines that we got during the preview clip, I think Zayday wins it.
Well, and I would love that because I'm still not entirely sure that Chanel #1 isn't our main character. And losing all of her power would be a great method of character development for her. Mm-hmm. Make her reevaluate her entire existence, make her reevaluate what's important and where she is in life and how she got here. I don't necessarily think it going that way. I think her knee-jerk reaction if she lost the election would be to either kill someone
or have a complete breakdown.
Or begin a plan to reobtain that power and ruin everybody who caused her to lose it in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
But I would like, again, this is wishful thinking.
You'd like her to learn?
I would like her to learn. I would like her to have a character arc. I would like her to learn and grow. And again, to be our secret protagonist this whole time. Because right now she's just a villain. And I would like a little bit more depth to her than that. That's just me.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you? What do you think is going to happen in the next episode?
Oh, good Lord. They did say it was the deadliest episode ever. So I'm expecting what's the highest body count we've had so far?
Usually 2.
Yeah, we had, like, the last time we had someone straight up get killed, it was Coney and then someone else who actually mattered, but for the most part, Coney.
Yeah,
so I'm expecting 3, potentially 4, maybe even 5 if we're going for the big guy.
I gotta say, the shot of the Red Devil with 2 axes walking down the hall, scraping them together, that's just so cool.
And then scraping them along the walls, holding them out,
No, that's what I'm saying, like, scraping them around the halls.
That's like very anime character.
Like he's Freddy freaking Krueger, scraping his claws across the wall. Anywho.
How many more episodes do we have? Is it a 10-episode miniseries, or is it just like 7?
I believe it's 10, but I might be wrong on that. It might be as long as 13.
And this is the halfway point?
If this is 10, then it's the halfway point, yeah.
Yeah, because it's Hulu thinks it's episode 4, but other things think it's episode 5, and it's because we kind of had 2 episodes as the premiere.
It's always tough when they do a 2-parter pilot. On the same night, because then a bunch of outlets bunch them together as one episode, but then at the same time, if you look at them, they're actually 2 separate episodes. It's hard to say. Anywho.
And this is just the halfway point. I feel like we should be at least 2/3 of the way through by now, but this is just
a lot's happened.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's about, I am too. This is probably, I'm not going to lie, this has probably been my favorite episode so far.
Oh, yeah.
Just because, again, the cinematography and the references were so great. Anyway, Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram at Kiaxet. It's Kiaxet.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, I got one now, at The Menguin, that's TheMenguin. You can also follow Silver Screams on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Silver_Screams. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you all next time.